Freeman's verbal guidance is dedicated to helping people awaken the power of their own mind through motivation, conscious thinking, inner healing, spiritual wisdom, and personal transformation. This channel explores mindset, manifestation, self-belief, peace, healing, and the limitless potential within all of us. Your mind is more powerful than you realise. Hello and welcome back into the channel for part 2 of this series of showing you how to become comfortable around money, because money is energy, alright, and the energy you give out is what you're going to receive back, alright, and it all comes from within. It all comes from within. So in this episode, I just want to continue our conversation about money, about the energy, and about the human mind. Because once we begin to understand that money is deeply connected to emotion, belief, and consciousness, we start seeing life differently. One of the most important things to understand is this: many people are not actually chasing money. They are chasing what they believe money will give them. Safety, freedom, peace, status, security, acceptance, and relief. And obviously there's nothing wrong with wanting all those things, but the problems begin when people emotionally depend on money to feel worthy, complete, or safe within themselves. Because when inner peace depends entirely upon external circumstances, life becomes emotionally exhausting. Society has conditioned people to believe that when I finally have enough money, then I'll feel okay. But often, enough never arrives emotionally, because fear simply changes shape. First, people fear not having enough, and then they fear losing what they have. So the nervous system remains trapped in survival mode. And this is why inner work matters so much. Because true abundance is not merely about the amount in a bank account, it is also about the emotional state from which we live our lives. A peaceful person with modest finances can sometimes feel richer than a wealthy person filled with anxiety. And that is important to reflect on, because modern society often teaches people how to earn, but not how to feel fulfilled. People are taught how to chase, but rarely know how to rest. How to compete, but not know how to trust themselves. And many people unknowingly carry financial trauma. Yeah, that's right, financial trauma. Growing up around stress, arguments, instability, say lack, fear, debt, or uncertainty can deeply affect the subconscious mind. And children absorb emotional energy. If a child is constantly hearing panic around money, then they're going to grow into an adult who unconsciously associates money with danger. Even if opportunities appear later on in life, the nervous system may still react with fear. This is why some people sabotage success without realising it, because the subconscious mind often chooses what feels familiar over what feels healthy. And sometimes struggle feels familiar. And that might sound strange, but many people become emotionally conditioned to chaos. So they become so used to stress that peace feels uncomfortable. So when life starts improving, they unconsciously create problems again. Not because they are weak, but because the subconscious mind has been programmed for survival rather than peace. And this is where awareness changes everything. Because once you recognise the patterns, you can begin to change the pattern. You can begin speaking to yourself differently. So instead of, I'll never get ahead, you'll begin saying, I'm learning to create a healthier relationship with money. And instead of saying, nothing works for me, begin saying, I am open to growth, opportunities and change. And what I'll say is these small shifts matter more than people realise, because words affect emotion. Emotion affects behaviour, and behaviour affects the outcomes. Now, this doesn't mean repeating affirmations mechanically while ignoring reality. Real growth requires honesty, responsibility, action, discipline. But the emotional energy behind our actions matters enormously. Enormously, I can't say that word properly. A person acting from self-hatred often burns out. A person acting from calm tends to sustain momentum for longer. And another important truth is this: money amplifies who we already are. If someone is generous internally, wealth may increase their generosity. If someone is fearful internally, wealth may increase their fear. This is why inner development matters alongside financial growth. Because without emotional balance, external success can still leave people deeply unhappy. Look at how many wealthy individuals still struggle with anxiety, addiction, loneliness or emptiness. And that tells us something important. Money can solve certain problems, but it cannot replace inner peace. And perhaps one of the greatest forms of abundance is emotional freedom. And that is freedom from constant worry, freedom from compassion, freedom from shame, freedom from believing your worth depends on your income. Because comparison is another major block to abundance. And social media has intensified this enormously. People constantly compare their lives to edited versions of other people's reality. Cars, holidays, luxury, status, and comparison creates emotional lack. People begin to feel behind in life, but everyone's path is different. Some people bloom early, others later. Some people build quietly for years before life changes dramatically. And many successful people experienced enormous failures before their breakthrough. So never measure your entire life against someone else's highlighted reel. Your journey is your journey. And there is dignity in growth. There is dignity in rebuilding. There is dignity in beginning again. One thing I've noticed in life is that people often attract healthier opportunities when they stop operating from fear and start operating from purpose. Because purpose changes energy. And when someone genuinely wants to help, serve, create, heal, teach, build, their relationship with money becomes healthier. Because money stops being purely about survival and becomes connected to contribution. And contribution creates meaning. That's why many deeply fulfilled people focus not only what they can receive from life, but also what they can give. Energy flows both ways. And perhaps this is one of the deepest lessons of all. Abundance is not merely accumulation, it is flow. It's flow of creativity, flow of gratitude, flow of kindness, flow of opportunities, flow of service, flow of trust. And fear blocks flow. Fear tightens the mind, contracts vision, narrows possibility. But trust opens space internally. Not blind fantasy, not avoidance of reality, but grounded trust. The kind that says, I might not have all the answers yet, but I refuse to live entirely in fear. And that mindset alone changes people, because calmness creates clearer thinking, and clear thinking creates better decisions. So if you take anything away from this discussion, let it be this. Your financial situation does not define your worth. Your current circumstances are not necessarily your final destination, and the relationship you build with your own mind may become one of the greatest investments that you've ever made. Because once the mind begins changing, life often begins changing with it. Slowly, quietly, step by step. And sometimes that step-by-step transformation changes everything. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. That is the end of part 2. Remember, the goal is not simply to become rich externally. The goal is to become whole internally. And I really do hope you can take this with you and start working on it. Again, thank you very, very much for listening, and have a good day, evening, morning, night, wherever you are. And I hope to see you on episode 3.